As a school marketing and/or communications professional, I'm sure you've heard some scary things in your work over the years. In this special Halloween edition of the School Marketing Mashup, we're going to address 5 of the scariest things we can possibly imagine you might hear in your work. Hi, I'm Brendan Schneider, founder and CEO of Schneider B Media, and this is my friend Jonathan Oleisky, president and founder of Kalix Marketing Group, and you're watching the School Marketing Mashup. So to get started, Jonathan, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, Brendan, happy Halloween. It's Halloween in America. Everyone be safe, have a great time, eat lots of candy or don't eat lots of candy. So, one of the most scariest things that any marketing director, communications director would hear on a Monday morning is, help, our Facebook page has been hacked. We've lost total control. This has happened to schools before. It's not a hypothetical. And it's critically important that you as a communications team game plan this out before it might happen to you. You know, pre-planning for crisis management is a best practice. And I urge everyone watching this broadcast, take some time at a staff meeting to talk through what you would do if that happens. We had an experience with one of our schools within the last year or two, and you cannot pick up the phone and call Facebook. Brendan, have you ever tried to do that?
Actually, I have, Jonathan, and it's a waste of time.
Yeah, it is. I mean, yes, they will talk to you about ad spend, right? But if you have a technical issue, no, you're going to get into an email conversation with an AI bot, and you're going to be very frustrated. Um, one thing that's critically important, and make sure that all of your security settings are preset,
Mhm.
and change your passwords on a regular basis. For those of you out there who might like to garden, I know we're going into fall, and in some parts of the country, your garden is kind of done, but you have to keep the pests out of your garden, right?
Yeah.
You have to keep the pests out of your social media platforms. Hacking is part of life today, but it will give you beyond a scary series of weeks and months. And just make sure that you're prepared to handle something like that.
Well, and I know that when you were kind enough to talk to me about this when I was getting started, and it scared the crap out of me. So one of the
Yeah.
things I've really worked on is the two-factor authentication for my
Yep.
logins, using LastPass, one of those password um,
Yep.
generators and storage, so I don't have to think of these 20-character nonsensical passwords. But my hope
Yep.
is that with those kinds of things, with the two-factor authentication, I'm as buttoned up as I can be without, I'm not a programmer or technical. Well, I'm a geek, but
Yeah.
not a super geek.
No, and also make sure you have your Facebook recovery codes set.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a good call.
Turn your notifications from Facebook on. So if you get hacked at 6 in the morning, you're going to get that notification that
Yeah,
someone is trying to get authorization to your page, and respond immediately. It is time sensitive. You don't have the luxury of, when you get a notification at home at 6 in the morning, waiting till you get to school at 8 a.m. Not that you get to school at 8 a.m.,
right.
but you have to react in real time, because
Yeah,
once the hack has happened and someone has removed you and your colleagues as an admin from your page, you've lost total control.
yeah, agreed.
So what's another scary thing
Good.
that
Well,
we
let
should
me
talk about
let me
today?
tell you one of my scary ones. I'm giving my 2 weeks notice, and this isn't
Wow.
me, but I've heard this a couple times with staff over the years, and I think it's particularly acute after COVID.
Yeah.
Folks in the Marcom space leaving um, for a myriad of reasons, but I know at schools, we personally struggled to fill Marcom roles. We had a communications type role and a marketing role, and it took us months to find people that were a good fit. And I don't think this is going to get any easier. I think it's going to get worse. So my recommendations, and I would love for people to put their thoughts in the comments, whether it's
Yeah.
about having that Facebook experience, whether it's about, hiring, if you have any tips or tricks. But
Yeah.
one of the things I hope schools do is look for, and I think COVID has relaxed this a little bit, look for
Mhm.
people that aren't in your area. Look for remote workers. I know
Yeah.
schools are struggling with
Yeah.
this, but finding good Marcom folks who can be on site means you're probably, what's the euphemism? Young and hungry. They don't necessarily
Yeah.
have to be young, but they're less
Yeah.
experienced.
Yep.
So you're going to get them, you're going to train them up, and then quite frankly, they're
Yeah.
going to leave. They're going to go get a
Yeah.
better, not necessarily a better job, but a better paying job with better benefits and more work-life balance and things that schools, I think, are a little slow to get to.
Yeah, the other thing, and everyone says this, but you have to treat your employees and your teammates like family. If you treat them like family, maybe, and maybe I'm being naive here, you're going to laugh at this one. Maybe you'll get someone who'll say, you know what, at the end of the semester, I'm going to be moving on. But at
Yeah.
least you'll have that maybe few months notice, maybe.
Yeah.
And in the old days in the education space, people kind of left over the summer, right?
Yeah.
They went off, but
Yeah.
that, you're right, it doesn't happen anymore. We had someone who reached out to us within the last 2 months. They had this experience. Someone who was running their social media gave their 2 weeks notice, and the director had to take it over, right? And hiring is hard right now. It's
Yeah.
tough.
It's hard. And,
It it,
and
it is.
we had an employee that we kept for about almost 9 months, and he left in the
Yeah,
middle of the school year because he got a better job at a university.
yeah,
And I told him flat out, I said, look, I'm super excited for you. You have to take this job, but I'm also mad at you. Now, I will support you and do anything I can to make you, better. But I was like, you're killing me here.
yeah,
And I think it's just kind of that new normal, and hiring is
yeah,
going to continue to be hard. So, if
yeah.
anybody has figured this out, I'd love for them to put a comment below, because I know a lot of schools are struggling with this. So, moving on, I got another one for you,
All
Jonathan.
right, you go for it.
The
Wow.
school needs 25 more students, maybe. Could be
So, all
more,
right, so
could be less.
maybe could be less. All
Well,
right, so your head of school comes in on a Monday morning and says this to you, right?
I've seen that, heard about that, but this is where it used to get me all the time. So this is why the advice I want to give to schools. Admission folks, marketing communications folks, however you're involved in that budgeting process, you have the head of school and or the board, maybe the finance
Mhm.
director, who are setting your enrollment targets. And all of a
Yeah.
sudden they hand it over to you and they say good luck. And they don't necessarily look at trends or what's been happening. What they do is look at what they want to spend and just work backwards from the math and go, "Oh, we need 25 more students." And I would get so frustrated and say, "That's not how this works.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way." So as you know, what is this, Halloween? If you're, whether you're zero based budgeting or budgeting soon, try to get in those conversations to set a realistic enrollment target so that you don't hear this in, March or April or May, and there's nothing you can do.
I think the other thing coming out of COVID for those schools that are having enrollment challenges, and there's
Yeah.
too many of them that
Hmm.
that we all know of. There are friends, there are colleagues. It's a marathon, right? You're
Yeah.
not going to be able to fill 15, 25, 30 in a matter of months. It's not going to happen. And I
Yeah.
think it's really important that you're continuously educating your board and your school leadership that the enrollment funnel, it doesn't that process doesn't happen over 3-4 weeks. It is a continuum of 12 months, right? And you have to, if your board is coming to you now this fall and saying, yeah, maybe we need 25 more full pay families, well, there needs to be a strategy, and there needs to be a plan, and there needs to be a timeline.
Yeah. Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
So if you do find yourself, hearing these words, good luck, because it's next to near impossible, and I know from experience. So
Yeah.
good luck.
What's next on our scary list?
Next is, you need to cut your budget by 15%. This
Wow. All right. So
this
let
you
me ask you. Go ahead, Brendan.
No, no, go, Jonathan, go.
No. All right. So let me ask you this. So have you ever been asked to do this in real time?
Yes.
Okay. So what was your first reaction? Was it holy wow or big sigh? Okay. I think I know where I'm going to cut.
I There were two. It was a little bit of both, to be quite
Okay.
honest. And then I also understood, again, being in an admissions role or an advancement role, I knew the finances of the school. So
Yeah.
I had an understanding, and I was, all about the school. So I understood
Yeah.
the cuts necessary. The two things I focused on were, one, I wanted to make sure that all the offices in the school were cutting by the same amount, because I
It's
said,
fair.
look, if whether it's advancement or admissions or whatever role, marketing, communications, however your budgets are carved
Yeah.
up, my thought was, okay, if you're asking me to cut by 15%, I hope that you're asking everybody else in the school to cut by 15%. Because if you are, that's equitable, and I can
Yeah.
easily get behind that. The other struggle that I had, and this might be unique to my school, and again, if you've dealt with this, let us know, is that the school, the budgeting committee was trying to make the cuts for me. And I had to push hard to say, again, that's not how this should work. So what I would prefer is you say, cut by 15% and let my team and I figure it out, because we've done the research. Here's the
Yeah.
strategy, here are the tools,
Yeah.
here's the spend.
Yeah.
Let us make those decisions. We'll cut by 15 because I know it's for the good of the school, but let us
Yeah.
make those decisions. You can't randomly decide that you don't like this tool, or you think this is too expensive. So that was our experience.
Good advice. Good advice. So, Brendan, let's move to our last question as we wrap up. So, we've all dealt with this. A negative news story is about to be published about the school, and I would argue and I would challenge every communications professional out there: no comment is not a strategy.
Correct.
It just is not. You have a very small window when a reporter calls you to get in front of the story, and you can set the tone for that narrative. Granted, depending what it is, you probably cannot be detailed at all, but
Yeah.
you can talk about, at our school, we have a philosophy of really working through these challenges internally, and this is how we're approaching it. You have to find a way to, I hate to say it, to feed the media beast, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's really challenging because oftentimes, if something about your school is going to get negative news coverage, it's not good, right?
Yeah.
It's not.
Correct. Correct.
Uh, a student, a faculty member, a staff member has made a serious error in judgment, and all of a sudden it's getting put out there in front of the community. So really think about how you're going to react and what your public comment's going to be. And it is scary.
It's very scary, and actually, I think this was the scariest one, which is why I wanted to save it for last. But I also go back to, Jonathan, your advice from the first tip around Facebook, which is your admin team, your Marcom team, your crisis communication team should have this planned out. They should have holding statements. They should have things ready so that when something like this does happen, and it will happen, it's happened to us multiple times, or in my past life, if you have a plan, you can go through the plan. The other interesting thing that I probably wish we would have done a little better is, if you have a crisis communication team of 4, what if one of those people's not available? Is that your
Yeah,
spokesperson? What's the backup? What's the plan?
right.
Particularly if it's your
Yeah,
head of school. So if
yeah.
those are rehearsed and ready, it makes a very scary time. It's still scary, but at least it's a little less scary.
Yeah, no, and you're right. You should have that. Every school should have that 3-ring communications crisis binder where you've game planned this out in the summer, right? And you know exactly who's going to say what, who the backup is, and for at the risk of being redundant, don't say no comment. You just can't do that. All right, folks, we are out of time today. We want to wish everyone a happy Halloween. We want to thank you for watching another edition of School Marketing Mashup. We want to hear from you. So do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? Do you think we've had too much Halloween candy and we just don't know what we're talking about? Have you heard something scarier? Be sure you leave your thoughts in the comments. And most importantly, tell us how you resolve the issue. We're looking forward to seeing you in November on another episode of School Marketing Mashup. For Brendan Schneider, I'm Jonathan Oleisky. Thank you so much.